Hey guys, check it out. I've got my new iPhone 7 Plus with I think 128 gigs of memory, which is insane status. I think it goes up to 256 gigs, which is more insanity. And has this become the new normal? Seriously, $1,000 for a phone? By the time you buy the phone, you upgrade to more memory. You add the insurance plan, which I did, of course, tax, license, delivery fees, whatever, $1,000, really? Is that the new normal? Is it kind of like the perpetual, hey, I'm gonna have a car payment for life, so I'm just gonna lease a car. That way I can get more car for less money. And who doesn't want more for less, right? But it's the renter mentality. So once again, the phones. I had my last iPhone for 2 years. But because I wanted to start filming with my phone, which I'm doing right now, and wait for it, I have this cool little contraption or gadget called a DJI Osmo Mobile. I think it was a $300 moment. What it does though is it will hold, and by the way, this is a little sidebar. We talk about outsourcing. And outsourcing can be both a good thing and a bad thing based on who you ask and the context. So in this moment, back in the Wayback Machine, if I wanted to do this, it would either be stationary on a tripod, and that would be me outsourcing a camera guy that would be behind the camera. But you're limited with a tripod because it sits stationary or static in one place. And whenever I move, guess what? The tripod's not going to move with me. But as you notice, guess what's happening here? It moves wherever I move. So if I come up, and there I just got out of reach of its armature, whatever you call that, capabilities. Anyhow, so I can move all over and check it out. Now I've literally outsourced my video camera guy to a machine for $300. This machine, while it has to be charged, will not get sick, will not give me any attitude, will not need days off, and doesn't have to get paid. I just had that initial capital cost of $300, and here I am. So with that long-winded introduction, which I'm well known for is being long-winded. Why? Because I love context. I love deeper meaning because it, in my world, allows me to go further with that information. Rather than being two-dimensional, now it's three-dimensional. I'm trying to create added depth and greater understanding so that you can actually take these little nuggets of, dare I say, wisdom, but whatever. So you can take them a little further into your life and apply them, because what good is information if A, you don't implement it or execute on it, but you don't fully understand it, or you don't understand the context of that information, because context gives meaning. So what I want to discuss is 3 specific points, some of which I've already covered if you've been following me on YouTube or Facebook. This likely will be a both moment, come on, Darren, both Facebook and YouTube. So if you have listened in the past, one of my tenets of life, operating principles of life is this. If you want to reduce it down to the ridiculous, as in the ridiculously simple, whenever presented with a choice, you always go with the more difficult choice. And I promise you, 99% of the times, that will be the right choice. So you look at, do your best. Now, whether you reduce it down to 2 or possibly 3, preferably 2, you reduce the moment down to, okay, I've got a plan A, a plan B. Which one is harder to execute on? Whether it's physically, emotionally, intellectually, whatever. Which one is the more difficult choice? Well, go with that one every time. Seriously, I guarantee you, you will improve your life dramatically if you just choose the harder choice every time. So that's a life skill. But let me pull this into the world of detailing and dealing with customers. So, and I'm going to add an element to this, which is called intuition. That's kind of what we also call our spider senses. That's what I call them anyway, my spidey senses. You get that little tingling going on, or you get that feeling inside, that kind of like silent voice in your head that says, warning, warning, or do this, or change course, or whatever, whatever, whatever. But we tend to want to ignore that because usually it's a difficult option because we're already headed in a direction, and now we've got this little inner voice or our spider senses kind of giving us literally a warning saying, hey, you are on the wrong course, or hey, you need to watch out, or hey, this person may not be as trustworthy as they are presenting, or they may actually be misrepresenting themselves, whatever. You need to listen to that voice, and that, to come full circle in this moment, is that ridiculously simple principle, which is you pick the hardest choice. So you're on a course, your spider senses go off, and you want to ignore it because it's a more difficult option. Go with it, do it. I promise you, if you do it, your life will improve. Yes, easy and simple are not the same things. It is a simple principle to actually understand, vastly different than it being easy to actually execute on. That is the difficulty, and that is where we get hung up. So you need to execute on it. Once again, let me apply this and apply into the context of business detailing, specifically for all you detailers out there. So, and I'm going to draw from my own personal experience. So specifically, I had a customer or a potential customer. It is a first-time customer who found me on the internet. So thank you, search engines and the internet, for driving business my way over and over and over again. They have a big box truck. It's a company. They've got some old graphic decals that are horrid. They've been on there. They've been neglected. They're peeling. They look unsightly. They want them removed. So I, through experience, know what this entails. But one of my unique value propositions to my customers, let me move around a little bit so you check it out. See, isn't that cool? See the art on my wall there? Pretty cool, huh? It's all about the surroundings, all about the details. So through experience, my unique value proposition as a detailer, as a person, whether I'm consulting with guys on the phone, talking to customers, potential customers, it's helping them come to what I call an appropriate conclusion or an appropriate strategy. Because I could lead them by the nose or by the psyche down the path that I want them to go down that would benefit me the most. But that's what I call or consider a short-term game plan. Meaning you can manipulate those results and get results in the short term, but I believe that if you operate that way in the long term, it will impact you and your world negatively long term. So everything I look at is what I call the long game. I'm in it for the long game. I don't want immediate payoff or payout to me at the expense of a long-term relationship. So you need to look at your customers at the long term. So you may look at them very casually, short-sightedly, and think, oh, this customer's worth $300 in this moment. But if I lead them down a path that's not really appropriate for them in their world, and yes, I get the $300 and they're happy, but then later they think, you know what, that actually didn't make sense what I paid that guy to do. And now they're kind of irritated or frustrated. And it may not be so overt that it's really at the conscious level, but inside, that's where their spider senses are saying, you know what, I'm not going to sign on to that guy again. But what if you have the ability to, and this is one of the points I want to inject into this moment, is to build value. Build value into the equation. And how you do that is by educating your customer and letting them know that you literally are going to help them come to what I call the winning balance. That's the appropriate conclusion or appropriate strategy for them and their world. Because if you can do that, not only do you develop trust at every level, you enhance your credibility, you enhance your trust, and you build value. And when you can build value with you as a person, your business, your services, it's part of branding you and your business. If you can do that, you will make more money. But you've got to be willing to sacrifice manipulated short-term gains for long-term gains. And I promise you, if you look at it as a long game, because it hopefully, I mean, I don't know, you may just be in it for the short haul, and that's obviously up to you. Myself, it's all about the long game, all about developing those relationships, building trust at every level. Either everything you do is going to either enhance that trust or diminish it. Everything. I don't care what it is. So if you can adopt that principle or that philosophy, that mode of operation of thinking about it long term, it's like, okay, what is this customer potentially worth to me over the course of 10, 15, 20 years? Because really, if you do that, it becomes a win for both sides. You help them create a win because you are helping them come to, once again, the appropriate conclusion, not a conclusion that's based on you and your short-sighted, short-term results of trying to get the most money from them, short-term. If you can do this, you will set yourself apart. Endless times I have people comment to me on the phone and say, wow, Darren, thank you so much. Thank you so much for teaching me. I had no idea what that even was or how it even applied, and it made so much sense now. Thank you so much. So in doing that, I increase the value of me and what I can deliver to them, which the natural ripple effect is the more value that I can demonstrate or create for my customer, the more, or the potential for me to get paid more and more than I currently am. So I continue to develop this more and more. So another added thing I want to add to this is managing expectations. And once again, if you have followed my channel, you will know that I talk a lot about managing expectations. Now, specifically in this moment, let me kind of set up the context for you. So this potential customer, they've got a big box van and it's got a big solid decal along the stripe, the back, and the other side, which are different than what's called die cut decals, like the individual letters or numbers that are vinyl decals. Those are different. They're called die cut decals. This is a big vinyl strip that has been imprinted, what's called full color process, graphics on it, but it's a big strip of vinyl. That's how they make wraps, car wraps. Anyhow, so they have that on, it's degraded, they want it off. The problem comes, and this is, for example, like overspray removal. Often I will get calls from a customer that has overspray on their car and they are trying to go after, let's say, a paint contractor or a management company or something to try to get reimbursed for that. Or I get a call from a paint contractor that says, hey, we blew it, we got some overspray on 5 cars, can you come in and help us out? So it's one thing to manage expectations with an individual customer, but what you need to understand is every time you inject or add a new layer or person to that equation, you have to become increasingly hypervigilant in managing their expectations. For example, in this particular case, there's 4 layers. There's the lady, and I think she's the operations manager. She contacted me first. Then there's me. So right there's 2 people. So in talking with her and I have to manage her expectations. I helped her come to what I consider a winning balance, that if I was in her situation, my company, my truck, my resources, my money, whatever, what would I how would I choose to spend that if it was literally my company and my money? So I help her come to that conclusion, which to me, based on the year of the truck, how degraded the decals were, how time consuming it would be to actually remove that 100%, knowing that there's still, in fact, going to be a shadow remaining. If I removed it 100% and cleaned it up perfectly, there's still going to be a shadow remaining that cannot be removed. So when you start considering all that, I said, hey, you know what? Because her obvious, I guess, snap judgment was, hey, let's just get these decals removed. We'll put a new decal on, or maybe we'll just leave them off because we don't use the truck that much. And I said, yes, that sounds like a logical game plan, but what you don't understand is how time consuming and labor intensive it is to remove those decals. I think a better option would be to shave off the peeling parts, the degraded parts, and simply apply a new decal over it. It will not be perfect, but because of the age of the truck and the fact that honestly the world is not going to be scrutinizing your truck as it rolls down the road. So as a company, you will not be diminishing your branding. It will be acceptable and it will be the winning combination, but that's my opinion. I only help educate her so that she can understand where I'm coming from and that I really am looking at it from her perspective. So there's us two, her and myself. Then we have the sign guy, because I know, and this is where my spider senses started going off. It's like, oh, Darren, you've been down this road before with general contractors, paint contractors, the end user or the end owner of the car. And every time you add a new layer, you have to become more hypervigilant. You cannot assume. When you assume, that's where you set up for potential of mistakes. That is not managing expectations. You have to constantly clarify and verify. So you have to clarify the information, make sure the customer understands exactly what you're saying, and then you need to verify that they actually understand it and the context of it and why you've come to that conclusion with them. So now what I wanted to do is, and this is what I did, is my spider senses were going off. I didn't want to take the time to do it. And I quoted her a very healthy, let's just call it that, a very healthy price. But part of my, once again, my unique value proposition is helping them coming to that winning balance, winning combination. Also, my unique value proposition is that I'm going to make sure there's clarity and understanding at every level, at every step, with every person, so that I know that every person is on the same page. Because it's like that game we played in grade school, telephone. And the teacher comes to the first kid, there's a big line of kids or a big circle of kids, and she whispers something into the first kid's ear, and he has to whisper it to the second, the third, the fourth, and down the line. Then at the very end, the last kid repeats that sentence, and it is disturbingly funny. It's disturbing because you realized how distorted the original information has become after it's been transferred through all these people. It's funny because you think, how WTF? How did we go from here to here? Where was the disconnect? And where was the greatest disconnect between those individuals? So that's what you need to apply in these cases. So every time there's an added layer, you've got to do what I call perform due diligence, verify, clarify all those things in order to manage the expectations so that every player has full understanding and is on the same page. That's what you got to do. That's what your brain will tell you you don't want to do, because that's too much work. I just want to give them a quote, do the job, and you're so hyper focused on doing a great job, but yet this is where the potential of disappointment can enter into the picture, often called Murphy's Law at a level. I don't like Murphy and I don't like his law, but I didn't make up the law, but it just happens. Murphy's Law, you know? It's kind of like hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So in preparing for the worst, this is where managing expectations come in. So now, so far, we've got 3 layers, because I told her, it's like, you know what? I think it would be good if I was to reach out to the vinyl guy and make sure he understands what we're gonna do, because I don't want to come out, do my work, have you send the truck to him for him to decal back up, and it get kicked back because he says, hey, this is not perfect. The guy that you hired did not remove all the decals, because maybe she did not have the ability to explain fully to him the strategy, because this strategy is different than the typical strategy of a guy or a shop that's going to apply a decal. Because if you do not prepare what would then be the substrate, the underlying surface, perfectly smooth, even though you're laying some decal over it, it will show those nuances by creating a shadow. That is unacceptable for most people, and certainly a quality decal shop or a sign shop, they would find that unacceptable. But if they have not been educated and informed as to, hey, we get it, but this is a different strategy. This is not your normal deal. So I told her, I want to have a conversation with that guy. I want to make sure he has full understanding, because I don't want to get called back out because I'm now being accused of doing a poor job, when in fact that was the original understanding. But that was the understanding between 2 people. He's now a 3rd person. Well, guess what? Let me add a 4th person to that, because I'm going to be doing this truck at a facility that's at a different location from where this lady herself, who is in Carlsbad, which is way south in California, even though I'm considered in Southern California, but Southern California is a big area. But I'm going to be doing this more in my area. So now there's a 4th individual. So what do I tell her? It's like, you know what? What is his contact information? Because if I'm showing up to the facility where he is at, and the truck's going to be at that facility, which is different than the facility of her who's coordinating all this, but actually not coordinating it enough or sufficiently in my world, because I don't want any bad press upon me. I don't want any responsibility or negative, let's say, ripple effects falling upon my shoulder of like, hey, Darren, you blew it. This is what I thought you were going to do. It's like, well, that's not what I said originally to the lady down south. Well, that's not what she told me. She told me you were going to do this or do that or whatever. That has the potential of happening at both the sign shop and the facilities director at this other location than where she is. So do you see how there's 4 different layers? So I've got to make sure, and essentially I have to become the manager in this moment. I've got to manage all parties involved, make sure there's complete understanding and full comprehension as to our end result. Once again, I get paid to deliver the results. I've got to make sure everyone's on the same page. So now I'm going to reach out to 4 different people. I'm going to clarify the strategy with the original lady. I'm going to talk to the sign shop and make sure that he has full understanding of our strategy, which is different. That was weird. I don't know what the camera just did. Which is different than the traditional method of applying decals. I've got to reach out to the facilities director, the location where I'm actually going to be working on the truck, and then there's me. And I want to reach out to him to make sure there's understanding on his part, but I also want to follow up with him the night before to make sure that the truck is in fact going to be where the original lady said it was going to be. So do you see that not only are we talking about like psychological stuff here in managing expectations, but logistically, as in the physicalities of the moment. If she's down here, see, I'm doing this intentionally to show you how cool this camera is, or this gimbal, or whatever this DJI, I keep calling it wrong, DJI. So we have the physicalities of the moment, also the location. So see all these different layers where you have to step in and manage the moment. But once again, if you take the effort to do what your mind does not want to do, you can deliver more value. The more value that you can deliver, the more you can make as a person, as a company. And ultimately, is that not what you want? I just go a little deeper because yes, I want that same thing, but I also want to literally deliver a service that is uncommon, a service that is hard to come by, a service that is extraordinary. I could attach many adjectives to that, but a difference, meaning everyone says this, the same old BS, right? Like, oh, we're the best, or I've been in business for 30 years, therefore we must be the best, right? I mean, everyone says the typical stuff. In fact, you want to see some of the worst advertising marketing campaigns in the world? Listen to car dealerships in your local area. It could be on the radio, like my Pandora, I listen to on my computer, or the television, whatever. I'm telling you, local car dealerships, despite their fancy buildings that they make, clearly they're making a crap load of money. They have literally got the worst advertising campaign in the world. And year after year after year, they just do not change. I don't know who they're paying money to, but they suck at a massive level. And if you happen to be one of the marketing guys for those companies, you and I need to talk, because you guys suck at such a big level. It is. So that's my point. If you want to see exactly what not to do, listen to those commercials. They are horrid. Anyhow, so I think I've covered all my points. Always choose the hard choice. Managing expectations. Every time you add a new person or a new layer to the equation, you've got to become increasingly hyper vigilant. And in doing all this, you will create additional value and you will get paid more for that. So, me and my new gadgets, we're going to sign off, and I hope you have learned something that you can implement in your life and execute on it. Till next time.